Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Just One More Level podcast. I'm your co-host, Christian.
And I'm your co-host, John.
And this week we played a little bit of Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Lord,
Yep.
is it hard for me to remember the proper name for that game. I don't know what
Yeah,
it is, but every time I talk about it, I forget what its full name is.
Yeah.
Every single time.
I
Thankfully,
always
the
call
title
it
screen I
Shadow
got
of
to it in
Mordor.
time. Yeah, honestly, that's probably what I should do too at this point, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, so alright, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, for anybody who doesn't know, it's part of the, it should be pretty obvious, but part of the Lord of the Rings franchise.
Right.
It's not, you don't play as like any of the main characters from the films or anything like that, though. You are a unique character. It's just kind of set in the same universe as those games. In the first hour, I wasn't able to pinpoint what timeline it takes place during. I don't know. John,
I think it's a few decades before the events of the first movie. By first movie, I mean Fellowship of the Ring.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I think maybe a couple decades after the Hobbit series. I
That's
only
kind
say
of what
that
I was thinking
because,
too.
yeah, because there's about 50 or 60 years between
Those two franchises or
those two
series.
franchises. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Hobbit movies and the Lord of the Rings, or even the books if you want to go that route. And at this point in time, spoilers, I guess, you meet Gollum. You meet Gollum.
Yeah.
And Gollum is already missing the ring. So
Yeah.
Bilbo has already taken the ring from Gollum, but obviously the Lord of the Rings events haven't happened yet.
Right.
Because Sauron's
Not
tower
full power
is not,
yet and still being built. And
he's not back to full power, and the tower isn't fully constructed. The eye's not there yet. So a little bit before Frodo's journey, but a little bit after Bilbo's original.
Right, somewhere in between the two. And this game, it's kind of, if you've ever played an Assassin's Creed game, then you essentially know what this game is already from kind of the open world exploration perspective and everything like that. They ripped a lot from Assassin's Creed. In my opinion, it's done much better. The stuff like the climbing and the diversity of the land and whatnot that you travel around. Now, granted, I haven't played much Assassin's Creed since the first couple, so it could be much better these days, but that's kind of my opinion playing it. And then the combat system, they essentially ripped off from the Batman Arkham Asylum games.
I was getting a little bit of that.
Yeah, the kind of free flowing where you're like fighting one dude and then you can just instantly hop to another dude, just with like an easy flick of it. Like it very smoothly transitions from one enemy to the next as you're fighting them, essentially. It's wonderful the way that works. But the big thing, the big call to fame or whatever, the big thing that sets this game apart from other games was what did they call it? It was I forget the name of it now, but basically,
your enemies are smart.
Yeah, well, kind of. They're part of the Black Army, so how smart, I don't know. But they can level up essentially. If they kill you, their power level increases. And every time you take down one of the generals in the enemy army, every time you take down one of those generals, it creates a power void. And eventually, another enemy, whether it be, is it always my mind, I can't remember. What are they called, the enemies?
Uruks,
yeah. One of the Uruks, however you pronounce it, will they'll kind of fill that power vacuum and kind of take that spot of the general that you killed. And it's kind of interesting because if you get killed by the same game multiple times, the same guy multiple times, he'll keep getting stronger and they'll start taunting you and whatnot with the fact that they've already killed you before. Like they'll recognize that. And that was kind of the game's true claim to fame, right? Was the cool. I wish I could remember what they called it. It had a special name for that feature.
It's very immersive. I mean, it's realistic. It's kind of like a I mean, I haven't played a lot of D&D, so I don't know, but I would imagine kind of like a D&D scenario where like, your dungeon master or whatever can make up things for the enemies to say and do after they've known that they already defeat you. You know what I mean? Kind of that world building and storytelling. It adds a world building and storytelling element. You don't feel like the enemies in this game are just grunts that you're mowing down. It actually feels like there's some stakes going on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But just piggybacking off of what you said about the Assassin's Creed, I love the first Assassin's Creed game.
Hate it.
I played a whole lot of that. I know it's not anybody's favorite. I know they get better. Everybody loves like Assassin's Creed 2, Revelations
Just
and Brotherhood.
a
The
bit of a
Ezio.
sidetrack. I do just want to
Yeah,
say, it's growing up, I loved Assassin's Creed. I thought it was one of the greatest things ever when I played the first game.
sure. Yeah.
But seeing, I just beat it again
Hmm.
within the last year, and I
All right.
realized just how monotonous that game actually is.
Right.
Now, granted,
Yeah.
I only played roughly an hour of this one, so maybe it gets monotonous after a few hours or whatever. But
True.
Assassin's Creed 1, in my opinion, just did not age well at all. But
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with this game, though, so I'll let you finish your point. I'm sorry.
Well, but yeah, what I was gonna say is, I think that you're correct in saying that it did a lot of Assassin's Creed things, but better. I feel like
Yeah.
it's going, the Assassin's Creed things you learn just by playing the game, but you actually have to level up and build a skill tree in this
Mhm.
game to get some of those classic moves. Like,
Yeah, a lot more
there's the whole,
RPG elements than the original Assassin's Creed had, for
yeah,
sure.
there's the whole thing with the oh, what do you call it? Where you drop down and you kill an enemy from above.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can't think of what that's called either, but I think everybody knows what we mean though.
Yeah,
Where you're
but
like
it
perched up high and
yeah,
yeah,
and you drop down to do like a stealth kill and it adds
yeah,
more damage. In this game, that is a thing that you have to get by adding skill points to your skill tree.
yeah.
But in the Assassin's Creed game, that's just kind of like part of the
As you
story.
progress
You
through the
just yeah,
story.
you just
Yep.
kind of get that ability. But I think it's really cool that you can choose to hold off on that one because you want your wraith powers to be upgraded instead, or
Right.
something else like that. I thought that was really really cool. I think they do eagle vision better in this game.
Yes. Yep.
It's eagle vision in Assassin's Creed, but wraith vision
Yep.
in this
We
game.
should probably talk about the Wraith a little bit.
Yeah. So
So
for for anybody
yeah,
that doesn't know, I don't know why, but anybody that hasn't seen Lord of the Rings, there is a world between worlds called the Wraith world,
Mhm.
and you get to tap into that a little bit in this game because of this gentleman's storyline here.
Yeah. I mean, it's
He
within the
gets
first like 15 minutes of the game. I think it's safe to
yeah.
just tell
Yeah,
everybody.
it's safe. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're a guard on the wall in between Gondor and Mordor,
Mhm.
and you're supposed to protect Gondor. And it's the wall that we see in the Lord of the Rings movies with the Black Gate that opens up right into Mordor. That's the wall that they storm at the end of the third movie when they realize Frodo's in trouble. So you're a guard up there, and you get ambushed and attacked by Uruks and Orcs, and you die. But
Yep.
instead of dying, you end up in the world between worlds, and you get kind of saved by an old school ring wraith. Well, I don't know if he ends up being a ring wraith, but he is a wraith in the
Yeah,
wraith
I
world.
don't. I want to say he's not a ring wraith. I want to say I have no
Yeah,
idea, but he
right,
seems much too good to be a ring wraith. But
right.
I guess in the movies, though, you only ever see like the human ring wraiths. So
Yeah,
like maybe the
the nine
elves
ring
suffered a
wraiths.
different fate. Yeah,
Yeah, the nine ring wraiths in the movies, I believe, are supposed to be the nine men that
yeah,
originally received the nine rings of power.
yeah.
And they get called back into action by Sauron after they die. But anyway, you get cursed by this weirdo that you learn
Yep,
more about throughout the game, I guess.
I'm
Before you
sure.
die, you get cursed by this weirdo, and that's why you're not able to completely die and lay to rest. You're stuck in this world
Yeah.
between worlds, and as you
Excellent
do that,
explanation to why, like, they mended it all so well together, right? You can't
yeah,
die in this game because you're already dead, so you're
right.
constantly coming back to life. In most games they would just leave it at that, but the fact that they
Mhm.
added that whole system in the game where they recognize the fact that you keep coming back, just
Right.
I love the way they wrap that all up. But oh buddy.
Yeah. It's oh yeah, this is rough. This is rough stuff right here. But yeah, I thought that was really that was really cool that you're not a wraith yourself necessarily, but you are brought back to the mortal world by a wraith who has been a wraith for some time,
Yeah.
and he is using your body to kind of fulfill his purpose. He wants to find out his backstory. I think you get little glimpses of that depending on how
Here and
you
there.
go through the story.
Yep.
But it depends on how you take your character's path.
Right.
I chose to follow Gollum because I'm a fan of the movies. I wanted to follow Gollum. You don't
I
have to.
spent so much time dicking around, I actually didn't make it that far.
Right.
I did see Gollum off in the distance. I did make it
Yeah.
that far, but I quit shortly after that. So
Yeah. I chose to follow him. So you get a little bit of Gollum can see the Wraith, unlike everybody else in the world.
okay.
So that tips the Wraith off that Gollum is corrupted somehow, and he surmises that it's by the One Ring, and he's correct. So the Gollum tries to talk to the Wraith, and he tells him something about his backstory, and he's able to learn a little bit about it. So the
Right.
Wraith has a purpose, and you are seeking vengeance over the weirdo that curses you for no reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only cursed you, but also kills your whole family, as far as we
Right.
can tell. So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, you got a lot of reasons to want to hunt this dude down for sure.
Right. But going back to what I was talking about
Yeah.
originally, that's kind of a good enough introduction for the story. It branches off from there, and we honestly didn't get too
Much
much
farther than
story,
that.
either
Yeah.
one of us. Yeah, in the
I just
first hour,
wanted to
'cause there's a
explain
lot
kind of
to
the
learn.
Wraith thing because we're bringing up like things, the
Wraith
gameplay
vision.
elements that
Yeah.
have to do with it, and I just wanted people to
Yeah.
know like what that was. That's all. But
Yeah.
so
Kind of like
you have the eagle vision, that's but Wraith vision essentially in this game. Yeah.
right. It just lets you do stealthy things.
Yeah.
Let you see enemies through objects and
Yeah, and
kind of
pinpoint small creatures and things like that, like rats and spiders and
right.
birds and things like that. Helps you find small creatures that you may want to hunt and kill more
Right.
easily.
Yeah. So it's useful. And it gives you power ups and abilities.
Yes. Yep.
So that's also an aspect of it there. But I think they did it more effectively than Assassin's Creed. It was always kind of confusing in Assassin's Creed. I like the way this game, like you were referencing with the Batman Arkham games, it kind of holds you. It doesn't hold your hand through the combat necessarily, but it gives you options. It'll come up with kind of a quick time event type deal
Mm-hmm.
when you're in the middle of a battle consistently in order to block or to counter or to use some kind of power up that you have. So you have different options of how you want to battle. You can be stealthy about it. You can run and gun and just
Yep.
button mash your way through it. You can work on side quests first and level up all your abilities so you have the coolest stuff to do. You can do a lot of things. That plays into the open world element, but it also plays into a lot of what you can do in the combat. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
fluid
Yeah.
and it's very immersive, and there's so many different kinds of ways you can approach the combat, and I really love that about this game. I had the most fun by far, I think, with the combat and what you could do with it. It's really really good, and
It is. It's just so smooth, and I feel like as you get better at the game and as you unlock more abilities, it's just going to get better and better with more varied attack types, more ways to be stealthy, or making it more effective to just charge in if that's your playstyle. And by having the RPG elements instead of just forcing you down one path of progression like Assassin's Creed does, you can really kind of tailor it to your needs, which I really appreciate as well.
right.
Because it's nice to be able to play, if you're a stealthy kind of player, it's nice to be able to do that. But if you prefer just running in and messing some dudes up, it's nice to be able to do that too. So I
Right.
appreciate that they took the Assassin's Creed formula, but then added RPG elements to it to kind of
Right.
fit the
And
needs
in
of more. Yeah.
Right, and it's good too because you have that that idea of the Assassin's Creed type character and the Assassin's Creed type world, but
Mm-hmm.
in one of my favorite worlds ever, Lord of the
Oh
Rings.
yeah, oh for sure.
So
And
you
that's
get to
one
tell a
thing
story
about
there.
the Lord of the Rings in general, I feel is so underutilized. Now I don't know what the
Yeah.
estate of J.R.R. Tolkien, I don't know what his estate, like how open they are with their franchise, but I feel like it's so underutilized as far as video games and other movies or television series and things go, because I think it is an amazing world that could be built on just like crazy. And I'm
Yeah.
so happy to see them doing that with this series of games. And I've been wanting to play them for a long time. So
Yeah.
I'm happy that it ended up winning the poll and we were able to play
Right.
it because, yeah, oh man, it's just something that I want to see more of. It's,
Right.
if you're a fan of fantasy, I mean, this is basically where fantasy started. Modern fantasy started was
Right.
with Lord of the Rings. So Yeah. One other thing that we didn't mention, I'm watching the video as we're doing the live stream here, made me think of it. There is another cool thing that you can do with the interrogation mode, of course.
Yeah.
So the Wraith has the ability to kind of invade the minds of people as long as you can come into contact with them, essentially. So you can like whittle down the health of an enemy, and then you can place your hand upon them, and the Wraith can invade their mind and see their thoughts. So it's a way to get information on more of the generals than what you would otherwise know naturally. So it's just an extra way of getting information, essentially. You can find out like their weaknesses, where they are located in the world, things like that. But I again, it's just another cool way that they blended gameplay and the not necessarily the story, but the gameplay and the world and gameplay elements like features and things. They just blended all of it so seamlessly together that it's really a good experience. It's good.
And I love the UI. The UI is amazing. Like as you uncover different things, not only can you level up your weapons and abilities with your skill tree, but you also uncover lore and story. There's kind of like a bestiary. There's a section of that where it's just lore. As you learn more, as you meet new people and learn more about your character and about the world, it just unlocks these little these little readable menu things in the screen that you can read through. And I was having fun just looking through all the ones that were available to me so far, because I learned a lot of things about the world. I learned that those are called Uruks and not orcs. As somebody who has just watched the movies, now granted, I've watched the movies a ton, and I've watched the extended versions of those movies a ton. I did not know the difference between Uruks and orcs. I knew that there were Uruk-hai, the big beefy guys from the first movie and the second movie that kidnapped Merry and Pippin. I knew those were called Uruk-hai because they call them by name directly in the movie.
Right.
Sauron, sorry, not Sauron, Saruman grows them underground.
Can I just, nothing to do with this game, but just the one gripe I have with the book series in the movies, why did you name the two main baddies so similar to each other? Like Sauron and Saruman? Like, what are you doing?
A man invented a language.
I mean, sure.
If he needed to take a day off.
I guess. But like, the confusion is so real with that there. Yeah. But sorry, off track, just had to point that out.
And who knows, maybe we're dumb. And maybe that makes more sense linguistically, because I read somewhere, I think it was in the first book. I tried reading The Fellowship of the Ring, because I have all 3 of the books, and I have The Hobbit. But the editions that I got were like these super awesome mega editions or whatever. Yeah. So there's like 100 pages before the book even starts of like,
oh damn, yeah,
information about J.R.R. Tolkien and how he wrote the books and the different editions of the books through the years and all this crap. But one of the things they mentioned was that J.R.R. Tolkien, how do I want to phrase this? From a literary perspective, was more interested in the prospect of building and developing languages. He loved the idea of writing his own
I've read that
language,
before too. Yeah.
More so than world building. So he kind of started from the ground up with world building and developing a language, and then started fleshing out characters and storylines. Because a lot of people have pointed out over the years that the storyline of Lord of the Rings is very simple. In essence, it's very simplistic. It's a lot of walking and then some battles, and then a lot more walking and then some battles. And it's laced with heavier themes, but from a storyline perspective, there's not a lot going on.
Right.
But it's okay because you're so immersed in the world and you feel like the world is so fleshed out that you're getting lost in what's happening, even though the storyline itself is pretty slim.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But what I was going to say, since he is so interested in linguistics, and there's an entire genre of history called etymology, the history of words. We don't know. Maybe that's how it has to be. Sauron,
I mean, maybe
Saruman. That's in
I don't know.
That's
to me, that seems dumb. But
I would like to just on what's her face from Harry Potter for all the alliterations that gets on my nerves once in a while.
Oh, I love alliteration. But anyways, one more just fun fact while we're kind of talking about fun facts and things. This I don't actually know for sure if it's a fact about the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings universe. It's just something that I read on the internet, so Lord knows if it's true or not. But apparently, The Hobbit was originally meant to be a oral story. It was something that he would tell his son while he was going to bed at night.
Mm.
And he told his son this story a couple times, pieces of it or whatever, and as it was developing. But his son he would bring up inconsistencies. Like, well, I thought he was wearing this, or I thought his door was this color, or whatever. So he ended up writing down the story just so he could be consistent enough to not have his son questioning him every night when he tried to put him to bed. And that's the only reason he wrote down The Hobbit and actually turned it into a book. Again, don't know if that's true or not, but I just thought that was an interesting little thing, and it's a funny story if it's true.
Yeah. There might be some truth in it. You never know. It's where a lot of things happen. The way a lot of things happen on the internet comes from something true in terms of a funny story.
That's very true.
So, I mean, much more to say about the game. The score is original, which I was surprised by, honestly.
And
I thought they were going to rip off a lot more of the Lord of the Rings movie score.
I wouldn't have minded if they went like the Legend of Zelda route, where they took the score of the movies and then did remixes or updated it or whatever, like they do so commonly in the Legend of Zelda games. I honestly wouldn't have even minded that, but I certainly appreciate an original score, and it's a good one at that. Yeah. It's very nice.
It feels like it's part of the Lord of the Rings score.
Yeah.
This feels like it could be its own Lord of the Rings movie. That's really nice. Graphically, it looks great.
This game came out when, do you remember? 2015. Okay, a little bit later than I thought, but still, for a 6-year-old game, it's pretty damn good looking for sure.
Yeah, this was a one of the big ones for the PS4 when it came out. This was like a big all right, we're done making PS3 games now. This is a PS4 game right here.
Right.
You're gonna have to play it on the PS4. From what I remember, when it came out, it was one of those kind of games. It was like big. This is what the PS4 could do, man.
Right.
This is the big stuff. We're not making PS3 games anymore.
No, we're done with that.
Right. But yeah, everything looks good graphically. There were very few, if any, bugs I found.
I had the game crash on me one time, but that may have been because I'm an overclocker. I tend to overclock a little bit, so it may just have been because my graphics card overclock may have been a little unstable. But other than that one crash, I had no bugs, no issues with the game at all. Ran very smooth, like you said, looks great, plays great. All in all, it's just I don't have any major complaints about the game. I guess the only tiny gripe I had is whenever I was trying to read the map at one point, I thought the map was a little more confusing than it necessarily needed to be, but I ended up being able to find the information that I wanted, so it wasn't like it was so confusing that it was impossible or anything. It's just thought it could have been done a little bit better.
They give you like a GPS marker thing too. You can mark the map and follow the GPS marker from point A to point B, so that's really cool. And it even helped me out. There was one sequence where it wanted me to learn a new thing that I could do. Yeah. It wasn't like a skill tree thing. It was just letting me know that, hey, you can use this button to dodge when someone's throwing a spear at you. It was one of those types of sequences. And one of the things that they had taught me earlier in the game that I forgot about, which was like the finisher. I didn't remember the button combo for the finisher when you knock it in. It kept wanting me to do the finisher, and I kept getting attacked and killed before I could do it. So the next time that I went through the sequence after, I don't know, maybe playing it 3-4 times, the game what's the right word? It reintroduced that tutorial
mechanic. Yeah.
Like it said, hey, you can hit this button to do your finisher there, just in case you forgot. So I thought that was really good.
There is one small complaint I had. I just saw it on screen and it reminded me of it. Whenever you are around something that can be used, it pops it up in the lower right-hand corner, just barely on screen, to hit, I think it's left control if you're using keyboard and mouse. That was one thing that did kind of, it caused me some pain at one point because I was trying to...
Weird placement.
It's just so off to the side, I hardly notice it. And I was trying to... I found something, I didn't know what it was. I'd never seen it in the world before, so I walked up to it, and as far as I could tell, you couldn't interact with it at all. And it wasn't until later that I realized down in the corner, when I had found another one, down in the corner it had popped up and said, press left control to collect or whatever. So I guess that's one other gripe I have, but that's it. Like, that's all I can think of, man.
This game is intense. It's got a lot going on. So this is by no means an hour game, We
no.
probably should have played maybe 2 hours.
Well, from a gameplay perspective, I think
Yeah.
we already got it all figured out within the first hour or so.
Maybe
It's more like from a lore and story
Yeah.
standpoint that for sure you would need to play more than an hour to
Yeah.
get into it. Because I could certainly be wrong, but I feel like the gameplay itself isn't going to change a whole lot, right? You'll unlock a couple new moves or whatever, some new abilities, things like that. But I don't feel like all of a sudden the combat style isn't suddenly going to change from what it is to something completely different. You know, it's not about to turn into a first-person shooter or anything like that.
No.
So,
it's just,
but yeah,
I think maybe that's just my desire to play just one more level.
Yeah, for sure.
Showing through. That's what I want.
And I agree completely. I definitely want to play just one more level of this. And in fact, I'm looking forward to playing the second one too at some point because there is a sequel, and I hope they're working on another one.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I hope they are. One more fun fact before we wrap up. The Lord of the Rings TV show made by Amazon, if I remember my numbers correctly, they are spending more money on the first season of that than they did on the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Really?
Just on the first season, yeah. I think it was like 800 million that they were spending on it or something like that.
Oh.
The Rings Amazon budget. So yeah, that was just one more cool thing that I remember. So
well, they better make it good. This is long awaiting.
So roughly 500 million, it looks like, sorry. But to make all 3 Lord of the Rings films, it cost roughly 281 million. So almost twice as much they're spending on the first season of the TV show versus the 3 movies.
Adjusted for inflation, I wonder, because that was it doesn't feel like it, but that was 20 years ago now.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, but let's see. We'll just do the inflation calculator. I remember doing the inflation calculator because Megan had the same question for me. But yeah, let's just say 2000 to 2021. And it was 218 million. Calculate. Okay, this I put in the wrong starting year, not from the year 200. Yeah, that would still only come out to 335.5 million.
Yeah,
so still like 200 million more almost. Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully that works out well for Amazon. I know I'm excited to see it. Yeah. But that was my last fun fact of the day.
I'm really looking forward to more practical stuff. I know that a lot of people liked the Hobbit stuff. I believe me and you have talked about this before.
Yes, we have.
Like the 60 FPS and all of that kind of stuff.
I believe it's fine with 48, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with 48 FPS in film in general.
I want them to go all the way 60 or break, man.
Right. Yeah. that didn't bug me. What bugged me was a lot of the elements of the original movies that were practical and looked great practical. It's
more of like a cinematography thing.
Yeah.
For you, it's the way they shot things, right? Not necessarily the frame rate that they shot it at, just the way it was done.
It was the way it was done. Everything looked a little too much. It looked a little bit too much like a video game for me, and I'm fine with that in a video game. I think this looks great. But when I went in expecting to see the Lord of the Rings,
right?
And what I saw was something that was to me a little bit lesser. So
I'm curious about the new 4K edits because he also said that that going back he realized how much of a difference there was between the original Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit from a quality standpoint. So in the new 4K edits, they apparently addressed that. So I'm curious what the 4K edits of Lord of the Rings actually look like. I looked at the box set. It's like $80 or something. So I probably won't be getting it anytime soon. But
they are on HBO Max.
Oh, are they on Max?
Yeah, unless I'm mistaken, the 4K versions are on HBO Max.
Oh, cool. I don't actually have HBO Max, but I mean, for $12 a month or whatever, it's better than buying the box set right now.
Right, and or at least I should say that the Lord of the Rings movies are on HBO Max, and they share the same cover as the new 4K box set.
Okay. So whether it actually is or not, who knows? But maybe.
And I know that HBO Max supports 4K streaming.
Yeah.
So I think that everything's sliding into place there, but I'm not 100%.
All right. But I think that's all I got. John, you got anything else for us?
No, fantastic game. highly recommend playing it.
Oh, for sure.
If you never got to play this one or you never got to pick it up, I know that it was always something when it came out that I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. I don't know when I'm ever going to get a chance to play it, but that's something that this podcast has let me do a lot of. Play the games that I always said, oh, that looks really cool, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get around to being able to pick
Actually
that one
trying it
up or
out,
being able to play it. This has let me do a lot of those things that I never got to do, and I'm really glad that I have, because this was amazing, and
Yes.
I might finish it, to be honest with you, or at least play more of it, because I had a lot of fun. But in the meantime, next week on the podcast, do you wanna talk about what we're playing a little bit? I don't know too much about it. Looks like a creepy little puzzle game.
Yeah, so John hasn't played it yet. I already played my hour of it. It's called See No Evil. It's a
Mhm.
little puzzle game that I saw on Steam and thought looked interesting. To be honest, it's not quite what I thought it was going to be,
Mhm.
but it is interesting, and there's some things I think to talk about in it for sure.
Mhm.
John brought up that there is apparently another game called See No Evil out there on the internet.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, we are
Yeah.
playing the puzzle game on Steam,
Yes.
not any other See No Evil games you may see out there.
Yes. Yes. Definitely, be careful Google searching, this game.
Yeah.
I did a Google search on this game to, try to catch a glimpse of the gameplay, see maybe what I was in for, and I found something rather unsavory, and, NSFW. So, there you go. There's your word of warning. Anyway, so See No Evil is next week. In the
Yep.
meantime, Christian, where can we find you?
Yes, I mean, you can always find me on the Just One More Podcast website. I do some video game reviews, short stories, things there. I haven't posted anything recently, but I do have a review that's just about done to come up, and I have another one or two in the works. I'm
Mhm.
trying to get back into Twitch streaming, so hopefully you'll see me here on this Twitch channel that we do these live recordings on, stream all the Steam. Hopefully you'll see me more active on there. I have a YouTube channel as well, but Lord knows if I'll ever be back to that. And then, of course, Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as well. How about you, John?
You can find me on the Just One More Podcast Facebook group. Pretty soon, though, that's going to become a Facebook page. We're
Yep.
going to try to migrate things over to a Facebook page because we can have a little bit more reach that way, which is actually going to increase the interactivity. We started a group initially just because we thought that would be a closer knit way to interact with people and let them know when updates were happening and when we'd be going live on Twitch and different things like that. But come to find out, we ran into a little bit of an issue with the recent giveaway that we were doing for Bendy and the Ink Machine. Not only 9 days left in that, by the way.
At time of recording, by the time this video goes
At
up,
time, yeah,
like
yeah,
roughly 4-ish days or something like that. So yeah, get
right.
in that if you guys are interested in picking up a copy of Bendy and the Ink Machine for PC.
Right, yeah. But we ran into a bit of an issue with linking it to the Facebook group because Facebook doesn't like us and it doesn't like using the group to do that.
Yeah.
Just because of the way they're set up. So going forward, the page I think is going to be a better option of being able to get you guys all the updates that we want to send out there. But
Right.
you can also find me over on the Just One More Podcast website, justonemorepodcast.com. Podcasts, plural.
With an S, yes. Very important.
Yeah. I haven't told Christian yet, but I'm thinking about sending him over a couple of things as far
Oh,
as
for
reviews,
sure.
my own reviews for games.
Awesome, yeah.
Or possibly even like my own little version of like a devlog, because I like to fool around with pixel art. We've talked about it before. We like to fool around with making games.
Yep. Which
we-
hopefully
we've
we'll have
talked-
an update for you all soon on not like a full commercial product or anything like that, but there is a small project we've been talking about for a while that is nearing a point to where we can share it with the world. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've been toying around with getting together like a little bit of a devlog over there. So on my YouTube channel as well as on the Just One More Podcast website. My YouTube channel is The Dorsman. You can come check me out over there. I got some videos up on there. Haven't uploaded in a little bit. I'm in the middle of doing some spring cleaning right now. Got a lot done on that today. That was my original plan was to do some YouTube stuff, but I ended up getting into the spring cleaning.
right.
But you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Dorsman or John Dorsey1 on Twitter. And that's about it for now. Hopefully gonna get back to Twitch and YouTube pretty soon here. But thank you everybody so much for listening or watching wherever you happen to be getting this podcast. We really appreciate all your engagement in the community, coming out and voting in the poll, engaging with the giveaway. It's really nice to see all that happening because you don't have to, but you do. And we appreciate it.
We do. We appreciate it so much. Everybody who joins us, who joins the giveaways. And one more thing we forgot to mention is the polls, of course, that we run on our website so you guys can vote on what games you would like to see us play. We appreciate everybody who interacts in any way. So thank you all.
Yep. Until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, y'all. Cool.
I kept that one just before 37 minutes and 55 seconds.
Gotcha. 37 is roughly 37:54 for me, but lately I've been the last time I did it, I used the video audio anyways. I may end up doing that again as long as Discord doesn't break up in the middle of it or anything, because it's automatically synced that way.
Oh, yeah.
If I use the video audio. And I don't think there were any Discord issues that time. So I mean, send it over anyways as a backup, but
right.
yeah, that just made it more seamless because I didn't have to worry about like moving things around to make sure all of our reactions line up and things like that. It just kind of works.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, whenever we get this down to a science, we may be able to start recording in person again.
Yeah, eventually. I mean, we've been working on that Crash, or been planning on doing that Crash episode forever, so hopefully one of these days we'll be able to actually get together for that. And then, of course, Guitar Hero 3, which is currently the poll leader.
Is it really? Nice.
It's Guitar Hero 3 is the poll leader, and then Prey, Lego Star Wars, Fallout 3, and Doom are all tied with 2 votes, and then Diablo's down at the bottom. But of course, there's still a couple weeks at least left of that. So
plus, we're playing the top 2 from that one for whoever's up.
Yes. And if it's if it does end up being like a 4-way tie, we'll probably do Lego Star Wars. If it's like tied for second or something like that, because it was tied last month for top spot. So if it ends up being tied again, we'll most likely do that one. But yeah, right now Guitar Hero 3 is in the lead. So
that's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Guitar Hero's good stuff, man. It's classic.
It is. It's very good stuff. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, you gotta have some Guitar Hero in your life.
Let's see. So yeah, make sure anybody in the chat is still chilling in the chat. Make sure you get over there and vote on that as well, because we like to know what you guys want to see us play, and we're always open to suggestions as well. We love to hear from you guys, get some suggestions on what you want to see us play. And if it's something that we're really excited to play personally, we might just throw it onto the list. If it's something that we don't know much about, or if our load's just too heavy, then we'll throw it into a poll at the very least, and add it to the list of games that people can vote on. So yes sir. But all right, I think that's pretty much it for us, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit more of the God of War episode that we had before, but thanks y'all for coming out. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye.